So good evening to all. And first of all, I would like to thank ICMA for giving me this opportunity to present the presentation. And I think it is a very good method which gives us students and professionals to really go deep into the subject and prepare and share with all people and take the comments also. So this is a presentation from group 3. And in group 3, we are 7 people. In fact, myself is Kailash Chandra Pathak, which is group leader of that. And other people are Mr. Mohit Chauhan, Mr. Samyukta Vivek Rao, Mr. Hitesh Kumar Prajapati, Mr. Siddharth B, Mr. Anand Kumar Pandey, and Mr. Raju Subramanian. In fact, when this was declared as we will be doing presentation, I tried to contact all 6 people, but unfortunately we could connect 4 people only. One of the person, Mr. Raju Subramanian, number was continuously coming unavailable. So today on this call, myself, Mr. Hitesh Kumar Prajapati, Ms. Samyukta Rao, and Mr. Siddharth B will be available, and we all 4 will be covering this presentation. And in the meantime, if any of these 2 people, if they come, we will request them if they can take any part in the presentation.
Okay.
The subject for group discussion was how to conduct an investigation of a fraud case alerted to by a company, like which are like various parts to be followed in the forensic audit by a forensic auditor. This was the subject given to us. So there are certain slides, and we have divided among us, which will be presented by all 4 of us. We will be completing, I think 45 minutes are there, so every person will be taking about 10 minutes or so. To start with, I would like to say a few things about what are the frauds to connect with the subject. Like frauds are defined in many acts, especially in Companies Act defines what are punishments under Section 447. Punishments to the fraud conducting, and even the duties and responsibilities of auditor. Section 17 of Contract Act 1872 defines frauds very clearly and more in detail, which 5 subsections are there in that, which decides anything which is not true or which is fraudulent is like the 5 sections are there under fraud. IPC also defines Section 25 and 26 of the frauds. And especially when it comes to IPC, the fraud is more defined from the criminal intent, where the mens rea is necessary. However, in the Contract Act and Companies Act, it is more defined in the terms of like various definitions of frauds are there, which can fall under various categories. The fraud triangle, which is also comes like opportunity has to be there, pressure has to be there, rationalization has to be there. Although fraud triangle is popular, and we have seen in our this fraud investigation only, but there are many other things also which forces people to do the frauds. In fact, but I will restrict right now to this triangle, which shows like opportunity, pressure, and rationalization. Type of frauds, there are many type of frauds. I think everywhere, every moment, every time frauds are happening. Continuously methods are coming, how to control the frauds, how to minimize the frauds, but every time new fraud will come, new methodology will come, how to control the frauds. Like today we see payrolls, asset misappropriation, financial statements by companies, tax frauds, data, intellectual properties, banking, insurance, money and cash frauds, especially money laundering. We can see the returns, refunds, bribery, corruptions, and number of frauds are coming. I think we see in almost every industry, we will see the frauds, and that's why the need is there. The frauds has to be continuously investigated by the experts, which the 2 reasons should come, where the proper mechanism can come to control the frauds or to stop the frauds. Sale, purchase, inventories continuously we see in the companies, especially manufacturing companies, where to influence P&L or sometimes to boost the profits to when they are coming for IPO, and all these things to increase the price of shares. All these frauds are being seen. Cyber crimes, extortions, cryptojacking, identity theft, credit card, all these frauds are continuously coming. Just to give a brief of this. And when it comes to forensic audit, in fact, once the fraud is there, it has to be audited to really find the root cause. Once root cause is found, there can be some mechanism which can a proper mechanism by either by the companies at, uh, at their level or by the government machineries, certain laws or certain mechanisms can be framed. So the forensic audit is a analysis and review of the financial records to extract the facts which can be used in court of law. Important, very, very important is it can be used in court of law, which can be defended. So when the forensic auditor is examining and uh, extracting the data or records, it should be so true with the backed with the a lot of information which can be defended in court of law. The forensic audit involves a large spectrum of investigate activities to bring the proof to prosecute a party of fraud, embezzlement, or other financial crimes. The reason of conducting forensic audit mainly to expose various types of illegal activities. The need of forensic audit is to safeguard interest of business and people. And not only private business or people, because the frauds can be sometimes en masse, which can affect the entire country also. Even the international people also can get affected. The symptom of fraud may appear in reconciliation through website, whistleblowers, or the suspicious illegal activities, identified material differences. Many times sudden profits start jumping, sudden losses starting coming. I have seen many times the companies which are running for 3 or 4 years in high profits, and suddenly we'll find when the IPO comes and they start going in the losses. I think all of you must have seen that. So something is different in that. How the company running 3-4 years in losses, once IPO is over, they start going to the coming to the losses, from the profits to losses or losses to profits. So this has to be some of the symptoms of fraud. Common areas of forensic audits are like misappropriations, corruptions, extortions, financial statement frauds, conflict of interest, and many more. So these are the areas. There are various legal systems appear in India as well as in abroad. I have taken few only on that. In India, Companies Act from the, I think, olden times, although Companies Act got revised many times. Earlier, I think it was 1953, and now it is 2013. And Prevention of Corruption Act is there. Right of Information Act is there. Information Technology Act, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Indian Penal Code, IPC is there. MRTP is there. Forensic, the FERA or FEMA is there. Securities Exchange Board is there. And many other, like after something like CBI, ED, SFIO, all these are legal systems are appearing. In USA, I think olden days, we can see nearly like 100 years before these laws are made, Securities and Exchange Commission, Securities Act, Securities Exchange Act, Public Utility Holding Act, Public Company Oversight Act, and National Financial Reporting Authority, and maybe more also. But these few I could find which are more prominently being described in the literature. Now the subject starts on that, the steps of forensic audit or investigation. So once the fraud is there and it is like sense has come, the fraud is there. Then it starts by the investigation has to be done. The fraud has to be investigated in such a way which the forensic auditor has to reach to the root cause and the facts, and it should be properly defendable in court of law. Sometimes it may go to court of law, sometimes may not be court of law, but we have to prove that the fraud is committed by a person or by a company is correctly identified. So there are like when we say the methodology includes like once the fraud is committed, the company has to reach to an expert, which has to accept the forensic audit engagement. He will evaluate the allegations or suspicions, conduct the due diligence, background, and complete the preliminary stage of investigation, check the predictions, assuming that there will be a litigation. Very important part is assuming that there will be litigation, because once the fraud is committed and somebody is labeled as accused, he may not keep quiet. He may come out that this fraud is not there or I'm not the culprit. So there may be litigation, and the auditor has to prove that yes, this litigation is right to the explained extent. Begin with external investigation. There may be some internal investigation, there may be external investigations. Gather the required proofs and evidences as much as possible. Prepare report of findings and then involve in the court proceedings. Once it reaches to the court, the auditor has to involve in the court proceedings wherever it is required. These could be summarized, the steps could be summarized in six. Engagement, fraud identification, evidence collection, examining or interviewing, suspect identification and confirmation, reporting and legal action. So I could summarize that into the 6 parts. This is the, I think, just representation of 6 parts. Engagement is a very important part from both the parties, the company who want to identify or who want to investigate the fraud happened in their area, and the auditor. So engagement is very important. It is like contract between the company or the one party with the auditor or auditing team or auditing company. So when the engagement is there, it has to be through engagement letter, which is a contract, which is, I think all of us are very well aware of the engagement letter or contract letters, which has to define the scope. So what is the scope of the engagement? Then objectives, parameters, cost, etc. All this has to be in the engagement letter. Engagement letter, there are certain standards, like we have appointment letter standard. Similarly, the standard formats are there for the investigation, fraud investigation engagement also. It is described in the ICI and ISA standards. And there are clauses. What should be the clauses in the engagement letter? That has to be heading and the date. Heading which describes what is the this fraud with the date. Then case name. That should be introduction of the fraud related investigation. In what circumstances? What are the reporting? Initial reportings are done. So giving introduction and coverage of that. Then objectives. What are the objectives of this engagement? What it has to be brought out. Then relevant timelines. There should be timelines because no investigation can go indefinite time. So certain time has to be there. Yes, if the auditor decides the time has to require more, they can definitely ask in the beginning. But in that, it is very important. The fraud has to be, the investigation has to be completed within a certain timeline. The reporting, expect how the reporting will be there in the during the investigation. What are the expectations? Then understanding of facts and circumstances, initial that can be mentioned in the engagement letter. Context within which engagement has to be conducted. Whether you can provide witness expert service or not, that also. Sometimes after the investigation is over, then also if services are required, they can be mentioned in the engagement letter. Whether the scope can be extended to customize to work, proceed, and new area of finding. Then other clause like independence and conflict of interest. Because if the fraud is being investigated by someone else also, so that has to be there. The auditor has to be independent. If any conflict of interest is there, it should be clearly mentioned in the engagement letter. Preferably, there should not be any conflict of the interest. Then description of practitioner's service. What the auditors are providing service, it has to be described, maybe in brief. And then the professional team, what type of experience they have, what type of qualification, expertise they be mentioned on the engagement letter. Then acknowledgement of the client. Client has to accept, yes, this offer is accepted by me. And then professional fee or any other expenses should be mentioned clearly. Then it comes to like representation by client towards the documentation and information to be provided. Then use of materials, privacy, ownership, and then non-disclosure clause and confidential clause. Because sometimes auditors will be going much deeper into the subjects, and sometimes IP, intellectual property rights issue may be there. So both sides, this clause has to work. The auditor also should be bound by non-disclosure agreement as well as the company also. So then when the auditor are going through, like for example, in pharma industry, there may be some formulas, especially, and so when they are going through that, they will not be disclosing any of these things anywhere. So the confidentiality agreement has to be there. This clause has to be there. Then communication and mode of communication, how they will be communicating each other. Indemnity clause. If any expenses comes under certain circumstances, who has to indemnify that? Other clause like dispute resolution process, whether they are may go through the ADRs, alternative dispute resolutions, like arbitrations, negotiations, mediation. So this has to be there, because if any dispute comes between the auditor and the company, how it has to be resolved. Limitation on liability and damages, and then termination and expiration of the engagement, when it will terminate, when it will expire. Force majeure, because sometimes the auditors are not able to complete, let's say, the exercise. Then if force majeure is there, and where like act of God or some kind of close down is there, like what happened in the time of virus. So that means when they are not able to complete, then force majeure, the clause has to be there. And then government laws and jurisdiction, where this, if any litigation comes, then which jurisdiction it will fall. So these are the few clauses, or most of the clauses, which are described, which must be covered under engagement process. So now the next is fraud identification, which I will request Madam Samyukta Rao to take over. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Your voice is audible, sir.
Audible, sir. Madam Samyukta Rao is there on the call. Now she has to take the next part. So, Madam.
Sure. Many people are.
I will just, no, she's there on the call. Hello, Madam.
Yeah, I think she is there. Samyukta Rao as guest.
Yeah. Yes, Madam, you can continue, please. I'm not able to hear.
I think you are in mute, madam. PPT is okay, only voice.
No, she's not on mute, but I will call from here quickly.
Not audible. Not audible. You are not audible. Unmute the speak.
Am I audible now?
Now audible.
Yes, madam. Yeah, wonderful. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, thank you. I think
Now it is okay.
yeah. Yes, so I'll start. Thank you. So can you please so we'd have to identify first of all if there is a fraud or not. Um, because of this, there are various techniques like it's mentioned. There are statistical data analysis like regression, probability, data matching, and there are many more.
Madam,
Pattern
mute your
recognition.
audio.
Um,
It is rebounding. Mute your other audio where you are listening. You only speak, don't listen. Otherwise, it is rebounding.
oh, okay. Has the reverb stopped?
Yes, I think now it is better. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll continue. Okay, so in let's say in pattern recognition, there might be a certain pattern in which a data goes. If there are any anomalies in that, that is how analysis is done, and that is investigated further. Data mining is not just extra. It is not the extraction of the whole data. It is there is a goal to find a pattern in it, which and the knowledge from that large amount of data. That is data extraction itself. Like there might be patterns in clusters. There might be anomalies in it. That is how data mining goes about searching these different unusual uh, detections patterns. Other than that, there is machine learning. Machine learning is a field completely devoted to understanding, like there's an the computer may be given certain commands, a certain program to do a certain task and find out if for example, if there's a simple task, it could be programmed to do that certain task. But in machine learning, like if it's given a complicated task, something advanced task, which is manually difficult to program, the computer can be programmed in such a way that it will program itself to handle that task. It will change its own algorithm accordingly to handle that task. So machine learning is another technique which can be used to identify the fraud if there are any. Also, can you please change to the next slide, Kalasa? Okay, so even as we conduct normal audit, forensic audit also has a few similar methods like sampling. There would be a large data, a whole data cannot be gone through. So sampling can be done either statistically or which is you can take up random parts of it to check if there are any frauds in that, or else it can be done non-statistically where according to the experience of the auditor based on his own judgment he may pick there might be these places that I would like to take a look at and see if there are any um, basically if there are any anomalies in the data. Then there's the ad hoc analysis which can be done. To explain ad hoc analysis, you can say it's a type of data exploration that is both, it could be quantitative or it could be qualitative. It is basically, uh, it uses like an existing matrix or a variable to discover any correlations or patterns between different types of data. Like it is basically combining, it could be anywhere. Like let's say there, for example, if we say there is customer spending habits, that if we compare it to the sales figure, that's something normally done. Other than that, the age demographics or the location, these are extra data, all of this combined together. So in forensic audit, while doing analysis, it could be various different completely unrelated data also. If like we have seen, there are a lot of kind of frauds where the fraudulent person may try to make it very unseeming that it shouldn't be very directly seen. So he will use different kinds of different techniques to cover up or hide the changes that he has done to continue with his fraudulent activity. So ad hoc analysis could be bringing all of these data together, analyzing it to see if there are any differences in those. Then there's competitive or repetitive analysis. It could be a similar pattern of data, which if there are any changes in it, it is not following a certain pattern that it usually does, then that could be a way fraud is detected, identified before they investigate more and find evidence related to it. Analytic techniques, there are a lot of techniques, like even during our course we were told about, we were given training regarding caseware idea software. That's a analytical tool which was used. That tool again, we did active, we were taught how you can analyze data in, there's a large amount of data that could be imported into the software so that you can analyze it and see if there are any differences. You can match and see the data. Benford's law, it is again law of anomalous numbers. In according to Benford's law, it is said the leading digit is likely to be small. Like for example, if the leading digit is 1, its appearances can come up to almost 33%. And similarly, as we go forward, if it's 9, it should be technically less than 5% the appearance. The distribution can be for the second digit, third digit, and so on. So it is assumed that people that fabricate these figures tend to distribute the digits fairly uniformly. So a simple comparison of the first digit frequency distribution from the data within the expected distribution, according to Benford's law, it is supposed to show up as an anomalous result. That is what, that's one way of identifying if there is a fraud or not. Some data mining tools that are used, like basically if there are duplications, that is something that needs to be taken a look at. Then again, if in data matching, if there are problems, it's not matching, then why is it not matching? Investigation needs to be done. Sound alike files, if there are two files that are very similar, why there shouldn't be like two invoices? Why are there two invoices if there is only one transaction for that invoice? Like something that is supposed to be looked into. Gaps and missings, like if they say same thing, one, there's an order which is supposed to get 5, there are supposed to be 5 transactions. Only the first and the last transaction relevant documentation is available. What about the middle transactions? Or maybe something is missing. So that's something which needs to be looked into further, investigated further. There are also ways that fraud can be detected. Like you could get a tip, like there's a whistleblower who will come and tell you, I think there is something wrong. Basically a whistleblower could give you a tip. That is one way how it can be detected. If an external auditor comes in during his uh, work, he might come across something which does not sit well with him. He thinks there could be a fraud. That's a way how it could be identified that there is a fraud. Internal auditors are constantly supposed to do their daily if the internal controls are working or not correctly. So if they come across something, there's something wrong, they could identify a fraud. Then it could be a particular department dedicated to this particular, if there are any anomalies, please find out, please try to identify if there are any frauds being done. A certain department could be assigned this task. Or while normal regular activities, they could come across accidentally that, oh, we see something which is not right. And in my experience, I have not seen this happen before. I don't know why is this happening now. It's not a regular pattern. Please look into this. That could be a way how fraud could be identified. Excuse me, sorry. fraud could also be identified by suspected activities or improper conduct, like during our lectures. We were mentioned that if there is a certain um, managerial person, basically you could identify a person responsible for it. Look, first of all, if there's a certain person, like they mentioned, he is not going on leave, there are assigned leaves, why is he not going on leave? What is it that he's trying to hide or protect? Data which he does not want anyone else to take a look at. That could be something which is suspicious. It could come off as suspicious. So that could be a way you could look into further investigation. Then again, if there are certain, now if we say there is during a data center audit or something, there are certain only assigned personnel who are allowed to a data center. Other authorized who are not authorized cannot go there. So if anyone who is unauthorized gained access to it, that could be a way of identifying why there's we could look into it further. How did this person get access to something which he's not supposed to? And why is the controls weak that someone who is not supposed to get access is getting access to this? Then again, if it's not any of them, they can obviously look into further why are the key managerial people who have access, what exactly did they do after going in there? What was the data changes that they made? Those could be recorded into computerized in that situation particularly. Then determine the extent of potential liability or loss. If there is a certain usually, okay, let's say there are certain amount of losses that might be happening in a business. Okay, minimum up to this amount is happening. Maybe 1 year suddenly there is a windfall gain or a windfall loss. Why is that happening? That could be a reason. The management suspects this is not something normal. We do not have any data backing this up, because of which we would like to investigate further into it. That could be a way how a fraud could be identified. Then there are various tools, as mentioned before, like there are variance analysis and forensic toolkits, various forensic toolkits. There are different like Wireshark and I need to recall which other one. Yeah, there are a few actually toolkits available in the market. These, if used, they do help in analyzing these softwares. Then contribution margin analysis could be something in a costing environment that could help identify if there is a fraud or not. P&L analysis and balance sheet analysis in a financial environment, those are also looked into, which could help in identifying if there are frauds. Thank you, Kailash.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thanks. And the next stage, which comes to the evidence collection and interviewing process, which I will be taking now, and this part. And once the fraud is identified, and now the auditors have to prepare to collect the maximum evidences, and they should be in such a way which should be like foolproof type of evidence, which should be produced in the court of law in proving the fraud. So the evidence collections, which has to go by like the rule of relevance. Any evidence which is collected has to be relevant with the fraud, and there should be weightage. The evidence collected, they should not be like which is like very lightly taken. There should be source of evidence, direct to circumstances, then credibility of the witness, corroboration, rebuttal of the potential defenses. So the weight has to be there in every evidence. What type of evidence has to be collected? Like witness statements, documents, data, files, emails, real evidences also. Real evidence means like materials, records, even hard copies, and demonstrative evidences, charts, graphs. All these has to be collected as evidence. Then in the evidences, there is a very important part which is the interviewing people, because all the evidences or most of the evidences sometimes are collected through the interviewing the people, where the auditor gets clue to collect other evidences also. So the interviewing process of various people, suspects also, as well as sometimes non-suspects also. That interviewing process has to be is like experts, like what type of environment has to be made, for example. So interviewing is very important exercise which gathers the information to authenticate and to produce in court of law. So there 3 phases are there. In fact, one is before interview. So when you are going to interview, that preparation has to be there. At what stage the interview should be conducted, preparation and planning of the interview, and the techniques and drafting of the questions. And then during the interview, report with the report and the active listening, verbal face-to-face. The interviews are always recommended to have face-to-face, not through the phones, or mostly it is always advisable face-to-face interviews, and the controlling conversations and documentation. And the last stage is concluding and thanking the interviewed person. When you go to the stage of interviewing of the investigation, collect all the evidences and connect the loose ends. Seek clarification during the interview. If you have any doubt, seek clarification, and sometimes let the ask clarifications from the interviewed person also. Who is to be interviewed? Any witness, whistleblower, suspect, or any other person. The stage of interviewing, before and during, and the final stage of the interview. Before interviewing, it is the planning, which are the one of the very important stage of interviewing. And during investigation, how one has to behave, how to prepare, and the final stage of interview. Preparation and planning, the location and logistics. The location has to be neutral location. The transportation of the person, when you are calling the person, it should not happen, he is not able to reach on the time. So you have to think on that. Order of interviews, the time, then seating interviewer and interviewee, representation. It is like legal representation. The questions, purposeful questions, complete questions, detailed and conclusive. While drafting or asking question, you cannot be light. You have to very seriously taking each and every question into consideration. It should be linked with your purpose, should be linked with your investigation, and then evidences to support the questions. Technique of drafting the questions, like define objective very clearly, invest adequate time. You are having a responsibility, big responsibility of investigating the case. So it should be taken very seriously, invest time in adequate time. Read the entire report before interviewing. Read the entire preparation, in fact. Then list down all the doubts, your questions, draft questions to build framework, link the questions with evidence, follow good brainstorming, use appropriate sentiments like emotions, mood, and psychology. So when you are with the interviewed, it should not look harsh. So make the environment very friendly with him. Then use funnel approach, where the top-down, open-ended, and close-ended questions. Use probing questions. Avoid yes or no questions. Means that the question should continue the discussion. It should not happen yes and no and the question stops. The report, you introduce yourself also, and let them also introduce himself. Create a comfortable environment. Keep in mind the purpose. Duration and arrangement of breaks has to always keep in mind that the person who is sitting, you should not go on hours. Give him break, biological break, sometimes water, or then maintain confidentiality. When you are interviewing the person, you have to give confidence to him. The full confidentiality will be maintained. Avoid interruptions like phone calls, all these things. Your phone call should not ring during the interrogations. So avoid interruptions. Witness versus suspect. Then be fair and transparent. Don't show emotions, like don't be angry on the person, or let it be very fair interview. Avoid judgments and avoid assumptions. Do not be always defined in your mind, he will be only suspect only. So be very careful when you are interviewing the person. All the interviews must be documented by you. Ask questions, listen, and add more questions, and active listening. When you are interviewing a person, it should look like that, yes, you are listening him also. So one has to be very actively listening to the person. Then record the interviews. When you are recording an interview, should be disclosed and permission should be sought. Generally, you can note down the conversation, but when the video camera or something is there, such thing is there, it should be disclosed to the interview and permission. Yes, we should proceed with the recording, or you are not comfortable. The writing responses on paper or noted, this should be done, yes, in transparent way. You are free to note down the points discussed. And then printing and soft copies can be taken. That's not the issue on that. Then other part is the control the conversation. When you're discussing with the interview, it should not go in indefinite direction. Maintain focus on the questions, and when he goes in different direction, you should be politely bring down to the main point. So respect vulnerable witness interviews. Sometimes the interviews may be very junior person, helper, security person, all these things, and you may be very senior auditor. So you have to respect his vulnerability also. He should not get some kind of fear or like this. So maintain the interview conditions such a way he should feel free to discuss with you. Use verbal language naturally flowing, normal volume and gestures. Summarize and conclude each question. Increase cognitive load and limit interview fabricating the truth. Reverse. Sometimes you can reverse the order also. Need not to be go in the same order, because sometimes to find the truth, you can jumble the order of that your questions. Minimize the possibility of hostile witness. And so these are the part. Now the next part comes to the fraud reporting, which I request Mr. Hitesh Prajapati to take the fraud reporting part. Mr. Hitesh?
Yes.
Right. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
You can proceed. Yes, please.
Yeah. Good evening to fraud reporting. The fraud reporting stage is the most obvious element in a forensic audit. After investigating and gathering evidence, the investigating team is expected to give a report of the findings of the investigation and the summary of the evidence and conclusion about the loss suffered due to fraud. Fraud reporting under Contract Act 1872. Fraud means and include any of the following acts committed by a party to a contract or by his agent with intent to deceive another party thereto his agent, or to include him to enter into a contract. Suggestion of a fact which is not true. The active concealment of a fact. A promise made without any intention of performing it. Any other act fitted to deceive. Any such act or omission as the law presently declares to be fraudulent. Section 25 of IPC define fraudulently as a person is said to do a thing fraudulently if he does that things with intent to defraud but not otherwise. Fraud reporting, fraud under Section 447 of Companies Act 2013. Fraud act, omission, concealment of fact, abuse of position by any person or any other person with conceived with intent to deceive, gain undue advantage from, injure interest of company shareholders, creditors, any other person, whether or not there is wrongful gain or wrongful loss. Concept of materiality is reporting. Concept of materiality has to be followed both quantitative and qualitative. Being disclosure requirement, the quantitative substantially of the error should be a deciding factor. And a compilation of audit report. One is report number and fraud number. The number will be an alphabetic string consisting of the following four alphabetic: 2 digits for the year, 2 digits for the quarter, and the final 4 digits is a distinctive running number for the fraud. Then name of the office, branch, factory, name of the party, employees, contract address, area of operation where the fraud has occurred, like cash deposit, term, advance credit, foreign exchange transaction, interbranch transaction, check, demand draft, matter of credit, etc. And nature of fraud, like nature of fraud, misappropriation and criminal breach of trust, product encashment through forged instrument, manipulation of book accounts, unauthorized credit facilities, negligence and cash shortage, cheating, forgery, irregularity in foreign exchange transaction, and date of occurrence and date of detection, date of reporting to management or RBI as the case may be. Then step of reporting. Report to board and audit committee. Auditor shall forward his report to the board of director or the audit committee as the case may be within 2 days of his completing the investigation, seeking their reply or observation within 45 days. Reporting to government after reply of the board. On receipt of such reply or observation, the auditor shall forward his report and the reply or observation of the board or the audit committee along with the comments on such reply or observation of the board or the audit committee to the central government within 15 days of receipt of such reply or observations. Step 3, report to government if not reply received. In case the auditor fails to give any reply or observation from the board or the audit committee within the stipulated period of 45 days, he shall forward his report to the central government along with a note containing the detail of his report that was earlier forwarded to the board or the audit committee, for which he failed to receive any reply or objection within the stipulated time. Reporting under Reserve Bank of India RBI regulations, frauds involving amount rupees less than 1 lakh, the auditor shall report the matter of fraud to the audit committee or the board within 2 days of his knowledge of the fraud. Individual cases are not required. Individual cases are not required to report to RBI. The report should specify the nature of the fraud with description, amount of the fraud, parties involved in the fraud, name of the party should be disclosed only when the board of audit committee has not taken any remedial action against the fraud. Fraud involving amount rupees 1 lakh to 25 lakh. The auditor shall report such fraud to the reporting authority under RBI in a prescribed format within 3 weeks from the date of detection. Fraud involving amount rupees above 25 lakh. The auditor shall report such fraud as each individual case to requisite reporting authority in a prescribed format within 3 weeks from the date of detection. Now reporting under the company's auditor's report order PARO 2003. The auditors are only required to disclose in the auditor's report the nature and amount of any fraud on or by the company has been noticed or reported during the year. The PARO covers product action both for the against of the company. Duty to report fraud, section 143(12), subsection 12. Section 143 of Company Act 2030 is a very comprehensive section on powers and duty of auditors. Section 143(12) required the statutory auditors of companies to report of the central government about fraud, suspected fraud committed against the company by officers or employee of the company. Section 143(15). If any auditor, cost accountant, or company secretary in practice do not comply with the provision of subsection 12, this shall be punished with fine which shall not be less than 1 lakh rupees, but which may extend to 25 lakh rupees. Type of penalty. There are 5 types of penalties. Contempt under the Company Act 2030, fine only, imprisonment or fine, imprisonment or fine, or with both, imprisonment and fine, and with imprisonment only. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Hitesh. And the last part of our presentation is fraud litigation, which I request Mr. Siddharth B to take over. Mr. Siddharth B, you are online. And
Yes,
I think
sir,
we
I'm
have
here.
time
Yes,
constraint.
sir.
I think within few minutes we have to finish. Yeah,
Yes,
please
sir,
go.
I'll finish it up.
Please go.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Mr. Hitesh. So I'm Siddharth. I'll be handling
Thank
the
you.
fraud litigation part.
Thank you, sir.
So we have already gone through from fraud identification to inspection to what are the actions taken. So I'll be doing the last to summarize a bit fraud litigation. So just a litigation, like it's just nothing but an what are the process law process actually we can do. Just an so the how the action can be taken using law. A simple word of litigation. Fraud litigation means it can the cross verification of the evidence which are done, because all the evidence which you collect cannot be dependent, so we have to cross verify each and every parts of the evidence. So this is where the financial litigation parts we are going to do it. So there's nothing but just 2 litigation parts we are going to discuss here. One is civil and one goes with criminal. So a tiny debrief about civil litigation would be when deciding if a fraud victim should spend money and time to recover their loss, because obviously it is inclined if a fraud is committed, there is a loss of money. So in civil litigation part, like the following points will be discussed, like the limitation period about the if it is done through ADR or if it's done through a redressal committee or the courts, a limitations period, and the process of fraud recovery, cost, like for every organization from an individual person to the organization, cost of legal fees and expense plays a major role. And emotional, the client should be emotionally fit, active to pursue the cases. So this and all will be discussed under civil litigation parts. So the next slide, please. So as I said, like civil litigation, and once then come under this criminal side. Here the fraud can decide whether to resolve by ADR or sue in court. As I discussed before, the process is same, only the type of case differs here. And here, like once we've decided we are going through a sue or by using courts or ADR, we should first ensure whom we are suing, the person we are suing, and the allegations. This is the most important part, the type of allegations we make, like civil, criminal, some. And if there are others who should be investigated, like not only the connected persons, like we should ensure all the persons must be thoroughly fully investigated and cross referenced all the evidence which you have collected under this part. Then the final part would be like statement of claim. Like once we have done our thing, like once we have sued, the statement of claim, how much we are the claim amount, like statement of claim and statement of defense. The fraudster, of course, he will not accept anything, so must respond to the filing the statement of defense and then serving it on the victim. If the fraudster does not file a defense, they can be noted in default. Like obviously, it is like obvious they'll file a defense part, but there are very,
पंचायत में जुड़ रही थी कोई और दो वीरवानी खड़ी थी
sir, so it's obvious they'll file a defense. So once does not happen, it's considered the default, but the chances are very low. So the discovery phase and the trial phase. The discovery phase. Each party in this discovery phase alone, each party can have an opportunity to update information and facts from the other party. You know, like what are the cases, like what are the things they are going to discuss, settlement, maybe they can claim settlements and many such part like that. Once the discovery includes the exchange of documents and process as well for the questioning, because we cannot blindly just go on with the questions and we cannot answer anything if we don't know what we are going to be asked. So we should be prepared, because this is based on financial frauds, everything. So the entire documents, some balance sheets to PNL, all the related documents will be exchanged in the discovery phase and the trial phase. as we mentioned, this is the last phase of the part of the litigation part. The court issues pre-trial and trial dates. Once the dates are set, the pre-trials are held on before the trial begins so that a judge can make an attempt to settle the case. Once the pre-trial doesn't take place, at the end of the trial, then comes the trial, and at the end of the trial, the judge may order several types of relief like claim. If the defendant is if winning the case, he'll order a claim. If not, lost. If not, the other party, the plaintiff will go on to win the case, where may get on the legal costs and the victim's investigation costs. So it's an overall conclusion we have seen from identifying to collecting evidences to financial litigation cross verification. So this is the part, like this is the litigation part comes to the very end, where all the details will be set before that, and the final part will be the court trial. And before pre-trial, if they want to settle, we can do it on the pre-trial. If not, we can go on with the trial dates, and the judge will issue the final statement or final verdict regarding the case. So thank you. We have managed to go from everything. So thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. Thanks, Mr. Siddharth. Thanks, Madam Samyukta. And thanks, Hiteshi. So now we are open to questions, although we have taken a little bit more time. Sorry, I think 10 minutes got short. I will stop sharing, or hello? Hello?
Sir, it's better if we stop sharing, sir.
Close the current one. Close the current one, and go to the first slide of your presentation. Not this one, sir. First slide, the case presentation is next.
Yes.
Case study. Okay, stop. Sir, the case study presented by the group members are excellent. It covers from end to end. Sir, first slide only, not this one. Before this slide. Oh no, case. No, not this one. Yes, topic for discussion. That is okay. Sorry, no. Topic for a discussion.
Yes, sir. This one.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir, here that is widely covered. All aspects are covered. But if you take one example of one case and prepare the index, what are the various steps that are to be involved in this case? And if you give the flow chart, then automatically it attracts a lot. And the index is also required. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. If you prepare like that, it gives more attention to the listeners also. But here we have covered widely. All aspects are well covered. But investigation in fraud case allotted by you, once the fraud case is allotted to you, start from step 1 to the last step. If you prepare in a sequence manner and a simple manner, then automatically it catches the minds of the people who are listening that particular case study. That's why this case study is also very good, undoubtedly.
Sir, sorry, sir. Little power problem was there. I connected through phone now. Yes.
Sir. Okay. Yes. Sir, here, yes, what I told is whenever we are giving presentation,
Yes.
it is like a story. It is like a story.
Yes, sir.
Once it is like a story presentation, then automatically it gives some comfort to the listeners and comfort to the presenters also. But this case study is a very good. The present discussion of the topic is very good. All are covered, fully involved. That is also very, very important. At the introduction, you told that involvement gives us some experience and some extra value addition for you also. So, congratulations to the team members for giving the best presentation. And now I will request the next group to present their case. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. And thanks to team also, and thanks to institute
you,
also,
sir.
sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kailash, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Sanjeev Datta,
Yes, sir.
who is the fourth one?
I think, sir, no one from fourth group.
Today, two
Sir.
presentations, sir.
Uh-huh.
Today, two presentations. Yesterday, two presentations.
Yes, but I checked out. I did no one from fourth group. So all third, 1, 2, 3 group has been over, right, sir?
1, 2, 3 is over. Fourth one.
Mhm.
Fourth one.
No one from fourth one. Let me check, sir, once.
Okay, okay, please.
Anyone from fourth group? Anyone from fourth group? Hello, students. Anyone from fourth group?
Yes, sir, I am from the fourth
Yes.
group, sir.
Please start your presentation.
Sir, in our group, no one, I think no one can prepare this presentation, sir,
Why?
because I don't know, sir, but regarding the presentation, no discussion is happened between us, sir.
No, no, no. That is not correct.
Yes,
Because
sir.
this is a part of the course also.
Because no participants are involving in this presentation, sir, so that we are not be getting connected with each other.
But that is not correct. Okay. If at all it is no presentation is there for general discussion. Today I will discuss some more aspects on bank cases only. I will discuss bank cases only. End use of funds. One of the important areas in the banking sector, particularly the frauds are happening. End use is not materialized. Once the bankers are giving loan for any purpose, the purpose is not served. If at all I am giving a loan for construction of a building, at the time of providing the project report, they are telling for each first stage, second stage, third stage, fourth stage, like that stages they will give. And accordingly, the bank will also disperse the amount as per the stages. But what is happening is diversion of funds are happening, or wrong invoices are submitted, or sometimes they will talk about the escalation of the cost. Because at the time of submission of the project report, my costs are like this, but on account of inflation or the demand for the product is more, the costs are increased substantially. That's why you have to provide additional funding. Otherwise, the project will not complete. Like that, the borrowers will tell. But here, the real fact is not escalation of cost, the diversion of the funds. The diversion of funds are happening in most of the cases. Particularly, the incipient sickness is happening in most of the cases. Incipient sickness of the companies. What is the incipient sick? Early sickness. The commercial activity not started, the loan turn into bad or fraudulent, and thereby that account turn into non-performing asset. In most of the cases, incipient sickness. At the time of giving the project, normally the borrower is always showing the revenues are more, the costs are less, and automatically the profit they will show substantially. But on implementation, that is not happening. Banks are also using sensitivity analysis. What is a sensitivity analysis? Sensitivity analysis means when the borrower is always giving positive side of the revenues, we will reduce the revenues by 10 or 20%. It depends upon the case by case. And once the borrower is giving showing always the costs are low, in order to show the profit, we will increase the cost also. In that particular revision, how the profit should be. So sensitivity, even though we are adopting sensitivity analysis, still most of the cases are problems are there. In most of the cases, bankers are only releasing the funds. They are not having full information about the market. Even though we are expert in that area, not familiar with that particular each and every type of industry. Take for example, power projects. Most of the power projects today are failed. And bankers are put that power project under negative list. Negative list. Once it is in negative list, we should not finance, and no finance for power projects. If at all any promoter wishes to start the power project, banks are reluctant to give the power project. Here they are purchasing the DG sets, diesel generator sets. The DG sets, crores of rupees, they are submitting one A4 size paper and ask to send that amount to the supplier. Here what is happening means, if the particular machinery is 100 crores, borrower's contribution or margin is 25%, banker's finance is 75%. Here a lot of frauds are happening. They will escalate the invoice and they are trying to avoid their margin. If at all they brought 125 crores, one quotation, and they are colluded with the supplier, and thereby they are avoiding the margin money. So the 100% of the total machinery is funded by the bank only. Borrower's contribution is almost zero. Thereby the involvement in the particular project is missing in most of the cases. In most of the cases. So for that, the banks are using one agency that agency is called Dun and Bradstreet. Dun and Bradstreet, they will provide the full information about the quotation. What is the real cost of the machinery? How many such type of a machinery is supplied by the supplier? And what is the quality of the machinery? And whether he is going to default after receiving the money, all information he will provide that Dun and Bradstreet. So even though we are adopting all these things, still borrowers are doing frauds, borrowers are doing misappropriation of funds, borrowers are doing diversion of funds, all these things are happening. That's why in the banks, particularly the mid-corporate and the corporate accounts are turn into bad. In the bank, if at all you got a chance to do the forensic audit, first and foremost, you have to get the full information about that particular loan. For that, one synoptic assessment paper is available in every loan proposal. That is called synopsis or synoptic assessment of the proposal. In that proposal, when it was started, what is the activity, what is the market share, what type of products they are going to manufacture, and what is the total project cost, who are the directors of the company, what are their particular experience in the line of activity, how long that company is there in the particular market, and what is the expansion, all particulars. What type of, as on data, what are the assets that are available, what is the fixed assets, what is the current assets, and for the last 3 years, whether the profit is increasing trend or decreasing trend. Next, how much environmental problem is created by that particular industry, and who are the clients or who are the consumers to purchase that particular product, who are supplying of the raw material, and whether it is imported or not, and if at all the company is going to export the goods, which countries, and all particulars are available. Being a forensic auditor, first to have a good knowledge about that particular company. Leave it of the fraud and other things. Fraud and other things are next. You have to investigate anyhow. You have to do the proper investigation. All these things are there. First and foremost, what is that industry? What is the manufacturing activity? All these things. Even in IBC also, number of IPs, insolvency professionals, whenever they got an assignment of the particular IP assignment, once the NCLT has given that order, first you have to approach the financial creditor. Sir, can I have the synopsis of the particular loan proposal? If you go through that one, then the overall picture of that particular company or industry, you will get it. Thereby the next process. Otherwise, what is a fraud, when it was happened, how much amount, all are subsequent. That is a secondary one. That's why in every presentation also, what I told is, first, what is that area? And you get the full information about the area. Even lockers also, duplicated keys are now using by the culprits, fraudulent. They are opening the other people lockers, because that's why the bankers are, they have to keep it one empty locker in each and every cabinet. whenever any person is surrendering the locker, the key set to be changed with the empty one, and we have to replace with another one. Thereby, the fraudulent transactions are to be avoided. So, what I told is about that particular fraud means the particularly if at all any company purchases department, some fraud was happening. Go through the purchases, how the purchases are happening, how the production department is sending that purchase requisition or stock requisition to the purchase department, on how the purchase department is issuing a tender, the tender or quotation or whatever the expression of interest to call the suppliers. What is the process and all these things? If you go through that total process, then subsequently identification of fraud is not a big task. Not a big task. Even if at all you are got an assignment in the bank also, if any fraud is happened, first you go through that particular unit profile, the biodata of the unit, the CV of the unit, how the bank is sanctioned, how much amount sanctioned, what is the project cost, how the project cost is they dispersed by the bank. That information, if you go through, then you will get a grip or command on that particular area, and identification and the location of fraudulent transactions and the culprits are also very, 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 very easy. So that's why for every loan proposal, if at all any loans and advances of frauds are happening, the forensic auditor first he should ask the profile of the company. Whenever the bank is sanctioned, they will prepare the profile that is called a synopsis of that particular loan. Whenever we are put forth that particular proposal to the sanctioning authority, we will give a synopsis of that particular company, the loan, the project cost, all these things we will submit. Thereby, it gives us some comfort to you. Second one is the steps. The steps are very, very important. Once you know the total process of that particular event, then drawing the flow chart, drawing the steps, drawing the events, drawing particular events, it is very easy. And if possible, we are using a program evaluation review technique, PET or CPM charts, that also can be used. Because this fraud project to be completed within the stipulated time. Even today, you are eligible for insurance frauds also. Insurance companies, particularly in the insurance companies, because earlier I am the vice president of SBI General Insurance for 6 years. Wrong claims or fraudulent claims, both in health insurance as well as fire insurance, as well as marine insurance and other insurance policies also. So, forensic auditors means not only the banking sector, even for this insurance companies, particularly the general insurance companies. I told one district in Andhra Pradesh, cotton ginning mills are more. The core activity is cotton ginning, but they are earning a lot through submission of wrong claims to the insurance companies based on the insurance policies. Based on the insurance policies. So they to curb or to control that type of this one, so many alternatives are available to check whether it is a correct claim or a wrong claim. Today, GST is one source, and submission of stock statements to the bank is another source. And whatever the information that are uploaded in the particular ROC website, that is also another source. Whenever they are issuing that a particular tender system calling for the supplies for raw material, that is also another source, and the invoice is also another source. And once the goods are arrived to the factory gate, the inward, particularly the register, is also another source. Like that, so many other alternatives are available to find out where the fraud was happened, the fraud has happened or not. That is to be cross-checked with the help of so many particular alternatives are available to the forensic auditors. So that's why the updation, particularly the updation of the particular system, is very much required for the forensic auditors. Whether it is a chemical industry or a textile industry or sugar industry, if at all you know the process, then automatically it is very easy. Whether it is a banking industry or insurance company, fraud is everywhere. Fraud is everywhere. Even ATMs also, number of frauds are happening. So that's why you have to update the knowledge industry wise. For that, I have supplied 100 cases by the CBA, Central Bureau of Investigation. They have published one book, 100 cases. I have supplied it to all the people. Particularly, I have provided that information to the course coordinator. So once you go through that one, the modus operandi is for each and every case. What is the modus operandi? Then it enhances or enlightens your knowledge, particularly to identify the frauds and to locate the frauds or to catch hold of the culprit, etc., etc. Even today, even in banks, number of frauds are happening. For that, we are appointing forensic auditors. Once the forensic auditors are appointed, today even audit reports. Audit reports are also one of the sources for the forensic auditors. Suppose if you verify the audit reports, then you will get some information about that particular unit. What is the comments of the internal auditor or external auditor about that particular firm? Audit reports. Not only audit reports, unit inspection registers are available. Every month, if at all the loan amount is crossed a certain amount, threshold limit, the credit officer has to visit to that particular unit and submit the report to the top officials. So if at all he mentioned in that particular report about the adverse remarks of that particular unit, that also helps a lot. All these are useful for to produce as an evidence in the court of law. So wherever the finance is there, definitely fraud is the next. That's why the banking frauds are increasing more. Every year, the Indian Banks Association, on behalf of all banks, they are empaneling the people as a forensic auditor, and they will distribute that empanelment list to all the banks, whether it is a private sector bank or the public sector bank. Now, I request anybody, if at all you are having any doubts with regard to banking frauds, please raise your doubts. I'm in a position to clarify your doubts. Sir, any doubts, sir, particularly on bank frauds or any information about the frauds in bank? Any information, I'm ready to provide. Any clarifications? Sir.
Sir, bank frauds, to whom we have to report, sir, the auditor, forensic auditor, to whom
Yes.
he will report? He
Yes.
will report to the branch manager or the
Yes.
person who is appointed?
Sir, normally in the bank, vigilance department is there. Vigilance department. Whenever the frauds or forensic auditors are identified, the vigilance department will issue one letter to the forensic auditor to complete that particular incident that was happened in XYZ branch. So you have to submit the report to the vigilance department only, not to the branch manager. Not to the branch manager. Vigilance department is available, is there in almost all banks. Sir.
Before giving to vigilance, is it required that report to be taken concurrence of the branch manager?
No,
After that,
not required. Because here, the vigilance department, whenever the task is endorsed to you, they will give the conditions also. So you have to give in a confidential and closed cover and hand it over that cover to the deputy general manager, vigilance department, and not anybody in the vigilance department. And if at all you are away from the head office of the bank, you have to seal it and with seal and all these things, whatever the precautionaries are there, whatever the systems are there, they will clearly spelled out in that particular letter by way of an answer. How to submit that particular report also. You should not discuss, and if the operating level people are not cooperation, not giving any cooperation to you, then they will also mention in that particular letter. If no cooperation is extended by the operating level or the branch level, please communicate the same to this email or over phone like that. That instruction, because once the forensic audit report, once the forensic audit is allotted, they will send nearly 10 to 20 pages of the information to you with regard to that particular audit work. Not simply 1 or 2 lines. You are appointed as a forensic auditor. Please visit and please provide that report to us. Not like that. A detailed information about that audit. And if at all you require any information about the total view of that particular this one case also, first you have to visit to the vigilance department first and interact with the higher official, and he will give the brief information or presentation on the case, and accordingly a detailed investigation is to be done by you. So before that also, you are not in dark. The relevant and required information they will provide. They will provide. And accordingly, you have to start the job of that particular. During that interaction, whatever your doubts are there, end to end, they will clarify all your doubts. Next, sir.
Sir,
Next.
this precision report you told, sir, you can collect from the bank.
Sir.
Precision report, something you told, no? To have to collect from the bank.
Yes. Actually, sir, synoptic assessment or synopsis of the present.
Sorry.
Synopsis. Sir, for every loan, one brief profile is required. The brief profile is available in the particular unit file. For every unit loan, one unit file is available. That is called a loan unit file. The loan unit file in the first page, the brief profile of the unit. So if you go through that one, you need not ask the bank also about that unit and all these things. All particulars are available. What is the activity? When they have started the unit, and what type of a process, and who is the bankers, and what is the profit for the last 3 years, what are the various branches located in India, how much manpower is there, and who is the managing director, who is the finance director, all particulars are available, particularly high value advances. High value.
Sir, this report contains any details of the personal guarantor also?
Yes. The primary security, the collateral security, the third party guarantees. Even for IBC purpose also, that is a personal guarantor to corporate debtor. Most of the people, they are not asking the banks the opinion report or net worth statement at the time of sanctioning of the loan. At the time of sanction the loan, at the time of sanction the loan, whenever any person is giving guarantee, the bank will prepare a report on that particular guarantor. Take for example, in State Bank of India, suppose you are going to give the guarantee for a corporate loan of 1,000 crores. Then we will prepare a report on you. That is called opinion report on the guarantor. First, we will ask the balance sheet of you. Whatever the balance sheet you are going to give, we will accept. Second one is, whenever you are mentioned your assets, a Xerox copy of the asset title deeds are to be enclosed to the balance sheet. Not simply on white paper assets liabilities, not like that. Okay, on the white paper you mentioned my building, the property value is 10 crores. Give me the Xerox copy of the building. If at all you mentioned a life insurance policy 2 crores, give me the Xerox copy of the LIC policy copy. If at all you mentioned a national savings certificate to the tune of 50 lakhs, kindly provide me the Xerox copies of the particular NSCs like that. Based on that, we will take the CIBIL report. We will go through that ROC website. All particulars are compiled and we will arrive the net worth and tangible net worth. And if at all your tangible net worth is low, then we will not accept you as a guarantor for that particular loan. So once the net worth is high, based on your statements, based on your documents submitted to the bank, then we will accept you as a guarantor. That is called opinion report. In some other banks, it is called as a net worth statement. That is required. Even PG to CD, personal guarantor to corporate debtor, whenever in this batch also some IPs are there, insolvency professionals. So whenever the personal guarantor to corporate debtor, first we have to concentrate on the net worth statement of the guarantors provided by the guarantor to the banker at the time of sanction. Second one, you have to take the CIBIL report also. That is a CIBIL TransUnion. That is to be generated from the banks internally. You can generate. So that is required. Even in the synopsis report also, the guarantors, the net worth, all are available. Sir.
Sir, what about 100 cases of fraud you are mentioning?
That I have sent, sir. Day one, after my this one is over, 100 cases means bank related frauds. Once it is a central investigation, the agency, CBI, as a Central Bureau of Investigation, they are also having, if the fraud amount is more, definitely they will also jump into the scene and they will also investigate. And their department people, they narrated each and every case, how the fraud was happened, what is the modus operandi, where is the system lacuna on the part of the bank, all are mentioned in that particular booklet. That is a PDF file. Then the day one I have provided to the this course coordinator.
This we not yet received, sir, so far, actually.
Sir, kindly request the course coordinator to share this.
Yes, yes. Once you go through that one, sir, definitely you will get a command or grip on the bank related frauds.
Sir, second question. A number of reports are being submitted by bank in XBRL form to RBI. Can we have access to such report for our academic purpose?
Sir, Reserve Bank of India, from the branch side, we are not sending any report except currency chest slip daily, fortnightly, or report for the authorized branches of foreign exchange. And whenever the frauds are happen in the branch, FM or 1 or 2 or 3 reports. Beyond that, branches will not submit any report to RBI. We are listening. My boss is, branch boss is the head office of the bank or central office of the bank, not the Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India is the boss to my chairman and managing director. No, Reserve Bank of India not circulated any circular to the branch. They are always addressed to chairman and managing directors of the bank.
Sir, I am insolvency professional. Recently, I have been appointed as a resolution professional for the one of the guarantor, corporate guarantor.
Okay, sir.
So this synopsis report and net worth report will be helpful in my process,
Sir,
sir.
sir.
The synopsis report and the net worth report of the guarantor.
Available in the sir. First and foremost, for personal guarantor to corporate data, first you start with when the loan was sanctioned, who is the guarantor at the time. In the credit appraisal note, the guarantors worth how much they have mentioned branch and what type of notary or affidavits given by the guarantors to substantiate the net worth, or what type of assets and liabilities they have given. And at that time, what is the 3 years income tax return submitted by the guarantor? And if the guarantor is a director of other companies also, the full information is available in that particular proposal, that too at the time of sanctioned that particular loan. First to verify that one. Then only you will get a fair idea about. Second one, bank will also narrate about the guarantors in the proposal. He he is a good guarantor, he is having this much assets, that much assets, he is having 10 years experience, 20 years experience in the line of activity. Like that, bank will also, each and every guarantor, they will give some remarks. Please go through that remarks. If at all that remarks are suitable for you, that is also okay. But most of the information is available in the particular the proposal at the time of sanction. At the time of sanction, the net worth statement is available. If at all it is a State Bank of India case, it is called opinion report on guarantors. If at all in other than State Bank of India, it is called a net worth statement. This net worth statement is also certified by the chartered accountants. That is also the one of the bank requirement in other banks, not in State Bank of India. In State Bank of India, the opinion reports are compiled by the bank staff only, not by the auditors.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, any doubts, sir? Any doubts?
Sir, any assignment is allotted to a forensic auditor and he finds that the industry expertise is not there, he can say no.
Sir.
Suppose I am a forensic auditor and State Bank of India has assigned a assignment to me. I feel that this industry is not belongs to me, so I am no expertise in this area. I don't want to take up. Is that okay?
Why not? But everybody is not having experience in that particular industry. But once the assignment is there, you have to put efforts for 1 week on that particular industry and particular where the fraud was happened. If you read some information or material on that line of activity, definitely you will become an expert in that one. Because we are matured persons, we are professionals, even though that is the first case allotted to you, and that is a chemical industry or a petrochemical industry or the electric, the power sector. Earlier, you may not have experience. Still, what I am talking is first go through the proposal and before accepting also, first you go to the branch and get the information about the unit and go through that proposal. Once you are capable of attending that one, then you give the consent. Otherwise, if at all you don't want to take up that assignment, there is no problem. There is no compulsion that will be given to the others also.
Sir,
Sir.
Recently practicing chartered accountant, cost accountant, and company secretaries are brought under ambit of PMLA prevention.
Correct.
How it is going to affect their professional life?
Sir, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Bad money is not rooted or not invited, whatever it is there. And whatever the assignments are there, the assignments by following the code of conduct of the professional institutes we have to follow. Unauthorizedly or without verifying the information, if you signed and involved in that case, nobody will come into your rescue. Some of the borrowers, they will tempt you. They will give unauthorized amount. Unauthorized amount is money laundering only.
Professional.
Sir?
Professional ethics, sir. Professional ethics.
Yeah, ethics. The code of conduct, code of conduct. But the scanners are there. Scanners means today, that's why I told earlier also, the central bank digital currency, they are shortly going to be, it is already implemented in India on 1st November and 1st December. Down the line, within 2 years, the money transaction, paper money, paperless money, that is a paper currency will disappear and digital currency is in place. This is already there in 100 countries and 60 countries. A pilot is going to be completed shortly and the remaining 40 is a pilot is going on. India is also pilot is going on and it is implemented in the 5 states and 9 banks. Now it is implemented and once it is pilot is successful, they want to roll out whatever the money you are earned, all are accounted for properly. Suppose if you ask, if you require 1 lakh worth of CBDC, you have to go to the branch of a bank. Then they will debit it to your account and credit it to your wallet of 1 lakh. At the time of giving that 1 lakh to your wallet, the branch will ask what type of denominations you require. 2000 this month, or 500 this much, 100 this much, or 200 this much, or 50s, 20s, 10s, 5s, 2s, 1. All denominations are available. All denomination prefixed with a number also. Suppose you are going to give 2000 to me in the central bank register, that is tracked. So from you, you have given to Mr. Prasad. If that 2000 rupees I have given to another person, that is also noted in the central bank register also. Thereby, this type of money laundering activities in the country will be curbed. So, first country in the world, the highest populated country is China implemented, Singapore it is implemented, and in due course down the line 10 years, if you want to see the physical currency, it is not seen. Why? Because this is a World Bank instructions, not that government or this government or like that. So once the central, it is a successful one. Definitely, because 60 countries are doing research, means 100% success rate will happen. This is a need of our. Even in villages also where network problem is not there. For that also Reserve Bank of India developed one mobile that mobile without internet also you can transfer from one account to another, and villagers are lack of education, digital literacy is there. For that Reserve Bank of India started in all languages 24/7 call center, that is called a Digisati, and UPA 123, one mobile specially designed to transfer the fund without internet connectivity. All these things are they happening, and even Clearing Corporation of India, from bank to bank, bank to government, whatever the notes are given, that is also tracked. Suppose you take, for example, in the coming days, Government of India is giving 10,000 crores to XYZ state for development of the roads. That 10,000 crores are to be utilized for roads only. If at all they diversion happened, then automatically we can view the central registry how much funds are taken by others. Not that's why even in the coming days, particularly the courts, it is a notary evidence. Central bank digital currency is a notary evidence. So in the coming days, the money laundering activity will be curbed. No question of this one. and definitely it will be a successful one, but it will take some time. I am talking about down the line, 5 years, 50% of the paperless. Today, the government is spending nearly 10,000 crores every year for printing of currency. The printing of currency plus the transportation charges put together, lot of amount they are spending. Once the digital currency is there, that can be curbed. Today, fraudulent or forged notes are coming from Bangladesh and Pakistan. That also problem will not arise in future once the digital currency is there. Even paper currency, once it is circulated from one person to another, lot of bacteria is on there on the currency, and you are putting the bacteria in your wallet, and thereby some diseases are also happening. Once the digital currency is there, all these things will disappear. Problems, health problems will also not arise. Problems will not arise. So here, if you want to read the digital currency, the January 1st issue is there of our institute. Go through that one. 7 articles are there. It gives us some knowledge about the digital currency. Digital currency already started. Clearing Corporation of India from banks to banks, the currency is also moved. Only digital currency with the number. If at all State Bank of India is giving 50,000 crores to Union Bank, that is tracked by the central registry, that is Reserve Bank of India. If Union Bank of India is given to other bank, that is also tracked. Retail is also started from 1st December 2022.
Sir, in January issue of our institute's magazine, I have gone through your very informative articles on this central currency.
Sir.
One question is there, sir.
Sir.
Can we use this central currency in place of cryptocurrency?
Yes. Actually, to reduce the importance of the cryptocurrency, digital currency was introduced. Tomorrow, no SLR, no CRR. So, if inflation is increased, important tools in the monetary policy is repo rate, SLR, CRR, bank rate, open market operations like that. In future, no need. If you are taking the Reserve Bank of India currency, then if the Reserve Bank of India is controlling the currency, they're controlling the supply of money, they will offer rate of interest on your CBDC also. Thereby the supply of money will decrease. So the first and foremost, the cryptocurrency is arising on account of cross-border transactions. Shortly, the CBDC is also going to be introduced, cross-border currency. That's why the UPI payments, first time in India, cross-border, particularly the Singapore and other countries. If you want, you can use a UPI also in those countries. That is already introduced. Why? To reduce the importance of cryptocurrency.
So down the line, after 10 years, the rupee and physical currency will disappear, sir?
Yes. Are you seeing today PCO, sir, public call office?
No, yes, exactly.
Are you seeing that the postal card or England letters now on account of SMS, on account of email, that the product is already died. Once CBDC is introduced, ATMs will disappear. Yes. Cash counters will disappear at the branches. Currency chest of the Reserve Bank of India will disappear. Not only that one, all software of the bank to be rechanged. Today, on account of UPI system, debit cards transactions are gradually decreasing. Most of the people, they are not using that swiping of card. On account of the UPI payment system, QR code, how much amount they are paid immediately. No take out the debit card and swiping the card and all these things in due course. So that's why the bank's debit card issues are also reducing gradually. Today, check culture is also decreased on account of UPI system. Small accounts checks. That too 24/7 in NEFT and RTGS. The checks culture is also reduced. Checks printing cost is also reduced to the banks. Sir, next, sir.
It results
Sir,
in
with
increasing the unemployment, sir.
Sir,
Sir.
Sir, one thing I would like to share with you, sir. Recently, one emerging area is the corporate investment in CSR activities. Every company is required to invest 2% of its
2% of the average net profit of last 3 years
for CSR. Now, what happens that we provide fund to district administration for creation of certain asset under CSR. Now, whether that asset has properly created or not, if we use this CBDC, then this problem will be solved.
Correct. Today, some professionals, boss, if at all any company is there, you tell me, we will give certificate and we will take 10%, 90% they can use for other purpose. Like that, some people they are telling that, sir, here the CBDC, particularly central bank digital currency, is not initiative of any government. It is a World Bank instruction. Once you obey and implement the World Bank, then only in case of crisis they will give the funding. Otherwise, they don't give any funding to the member banks.
This is really a magic money, sir, and many problems are going to be solved with
correct
application. Yes.
Sorry, income tax return is also not required. So every account is tracked in the central bank registry. How much cash is received? Some no, boss, you give me the hard cash, because if you give credit to my account, then automatically it is a TDS problem, that income tax problem. In future, lot of changes and technology one more time, that is again go to boom, because all systems of the corporates, all the systems of the banks ought to be changed with the CBDC. Okay, sir. Tell me, sir.
Unemployment will increase, sir?
Sir, no. No. Because here, 1985, at that time I am in Tirupati, Lord Balaji temple place. I have seen in the railway counters, they taken the stones and throw on the glass pans of the windows of the glass pan windows of the railway station. We don't require computerization. India is a developing country. Huge unemployment is there. Don't computerize. Don't compromise. Today, if IRCTC is stopped and people are asked to visit to the reservation counters, again people will take the stones and start the IRCTC and Amazon or Big Basket, whatever the baskets and all these things, if you stopped like that, for every new initiative, alternative avenues are available. No question of unemployment. In another direction, today, the employment opportunities are more in service sector, IT sector, not in manufacturing, not in agriculture sector. Primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary is agriculture, secondary industry, tertiary service. Service sector gives more employment opportunity to the people, not the industry, not the agriculture.
Yes.
Sir, this introduction of this artificial intelligence and chat GPT is said to snatch many jobs, especially of finance people. Is it is it true, sir?
True. Artificial intelligence creates a new opportunities to the people also.
Sir, when CBDC is coming, the frauds will reduce. Then why we are studying this forensic audit, sir? That time it will not be there.
Sir, every profession life cycle is there. I told the CBDCs are down the 10 years. In the meantime, your profession will continue. Later on, it will disappear. Or another mode of a frauds will happen. For that, you have to update the knowledge.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, sir. Good night to all. We will meet next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.